This video starts with a very simple sketch of the tree frog we are about to make, and it's something like this. You make an oval shape like this, and then we're going to draw two lines that start slightly below the center. So about here, we make a V shape like this. Here's where the legs are going to be. And then we're going to do a similar thing, except we're going to draw a little bit of a curve like this and like this. Now we can carve the outline. We don't have to carve this part yet, because having some extra wood over here is going to make it easier to carve these areas. Next, you can make this line over here to mark the area that's going to be the highest point of the frog. So this is going to be just slightly back from the knees over here. And very soon we're going to come back to this. Before that, we're going to take some wood away from where the limbs are going to be. We're just going to create a slanted area like this with some sweeping cuts. And then over here on the back, we can make that with stop cuts. And now we can remove some of this height from here to define this as the highest spot. So just rough cuts like this. Something like this kind of an angle is pretty good. Then we're going to draw two more lines. We're basically just going to move this edge further in. So we start from here. Let's make a circle over here, just so that we don't go over there. So this is where the head is going to be. We're not going to touch that yet. And then from here, from the edge of the circle, we're going to draw a curved line like this. Same on the other side. And then two more lines that meet here in the end. These two lines are slightly curved inward, and these two lines are slightly curved outward. And then we can move this edge to meet the line. Something like this is good enough for now. Next, we're going to make a sweeping cut over here. You can draw two circles like this for the eyes, so that you don't cut that part. And then in the middle here, we can make a sweeping cut starting from this edge. And we're moving the sweeping cut further and further so that it makes a dent between the eyes. We can even continue this little crease all the way to this highest point. And then from here, you can also make sweeping cuts this way to remove this extra wood from in front of the eyes. Then we're going to separate the head a little bit more from the rest of the body. So we're going to draw two lines over here. And then we're going to make V-cuts. After that, we can make these parts a little bit more round. So we can take away this edge over here. It's unnecessary, we're not going to need it. Now it's time to draw the knees again. So the very tip of the knee is going to be about there and about there. So just in front of this highest point. And then we can remove some wood from here with these stop cuts. We can also move this crease a little bit further up here on both sides. And then we can take some of this extra wood away from here. This is just going to be a gentle little curve. So we're removing some of this unnecessary height, but we're also going to make it so that these front limbs are slightly more inward compared to these knees. Next, it's time to define the limbs a little better. So this is just going to be just a lump like that. And then there's going to be the upper arm somewhere there. This is going to just go underneath the head, so the toes are not going to show. That's one of the reasons why this is a very beginner-friendly project. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a V-cut with the tip of the blade like this. And the same on the other side. That's good enough for now. And then we're going to do the same for the hind limbs. I'm going to redraw this V shape over here, just below this edge. And then the leg itself, like that. So we do the same thing, except now the V-cuts don't necessarily need to be made with the tip of the blade. But whatever works. I'm using a little bit of a combination here. We're gonna make these legs a little bit rounder from the side. The crease between the calf and the thigh is gonna be about here. And then there's gonna be another crease between the foot and the shin. And that's going to be something like this. Slightly curved, like that. So now we're going to make some more V-cuts. So we basically just remove the lines. And now at this point I'm starting to feel like this extra piece of wood is no longer useful. On the contrary, it's kind of in my way, as I want to make these cuts over here. So I'm just going to remove it. The frog is not going to stop exactly here. It's going to go like about here. So keep that in mind. I'm still going to make these edges slightly more straight instead of round like this. So I'm just making these very small push cuts so that I can easily adjust the shape without taking a big chunk away all at once. That means I'll have to redraw this line. It's okay. I'm gonna draw it like that and like that. And then I'll also need to mark the area where the limbs aren't gonna go at all. So there's gonna be a crease in here and in here. For the sake of clarity, we can already make that. For this, I think some combination of V-cuts and sweeping cuts, it's gonna work well. We can now also connect this line to this line between the thigh and the calf. Be careful here, because if you connect it here, that's the wrong part. Here it's good to be pretty careful, because this part is going to be quite thin and you don't want to break it. So just make small cuts and don't apply too much force. Now we can define this underside of the head a little bit. So over here is where the fingers are going to be. We're not going to go over there, but from this line to that direction, we can make a few sweeping cuts. Like that. Now the head is slightly lifted from the ground. Next we're going to carve this part to be a little bit lower. It's going to be pretty much the same level as this part, but we want to still maintain this crease over here. Next we'll make a line over here and the same kind on the other side. This is the crease between the forearm and the upper arm. And again, this is just a V-cut. Right now we only have one thing left before some finishing touches, and that is the eyes. We can start by making the area where the eyes are going to be a little more round, to just take away the pointiness and the unnecessary edges of the area. And also try to make even this initial shape symmetrical. And now we can draw the eyes, and we can start from this angle. So the eye is going to be pretty much at the same angle as the edge of the face, so like this. And then from these lines we're going to make circles. And now we'll just make a cut around the edge of the circle. This is basically just a V-cut, except that it's curved. One more final detail actually, and that is a little dent over here around the eyes. So we're gonna remove this kind of an area that I just colored here. Just a few sweeping cuts, tiny little sweeping cuts like these should get the job done. On the very outer edges over here, it can be a little bit more of a V-cut. If the curvature starts to be so steep that it's difficult to make clean sweeping cuts anymore. Now at this point it's just about a little cleanup. So if you want, you can try to make some of the features that you made a little bit cleaner and take away some rough spots.